Ms. Collins.
Mr. Chair, my first question is for Mr. Kruger, and you have been making record-breaking profits. You know, the oil sector, oil and gas companies, raked in $63 billion in 2022 alone. You know, the CEOs around the virtual table today make millions in salary and bonuses. You personally made $36.8 million in your first year as CEO. I was just doing a quick calculation with the median income of someone in my community. That would take them about 640 years to make. So in that same year, in that same first year, you also laid off 1,500 workers. And we asked Canadians to send us questions that they wanted us to ask the oil and gas CEOs. And the question that came up the most often was, how do you sleep at night? When there are climate fires ravaging our country, when people are displaced from their homes, when hundreds die in heat domes, when people are scared to let their kids go out and play because the smoke is too dangerous to breathe. How do you sleep at night?
I appreciate your desire to create headlines, point fingers, and attempt to villainize the industry and in it. But what I would say, when you do that, you're actually attacking hundreds of thousands of Canadians nationwide that work hard each and every day to provide energy in support of this country. So, you know, I'll take that. I've got thick skin. Some of your data is inaccurate, but I understand the emotion behind it. I want to get to why we were called here today. It was to talk about profits and emissions reduction. And
my question in particular was, how do you sleep at night, given the climate crisis and your responsibility in fueling it?
Point of order,
Yes,
like
I heard
the
your-
quorum
I
around
heard
here
your
in terms
question.
of personal attacks on individual witnesses.
I think to be honest,
bizarre.
I think to be honest, that's more of a rhetorical question. But I stopped the clock. But
Point of order, Chair.
Pardon?
The question was asked, and I think that you know, in a standard operating practice with committee, an approximate amount of time of a question asked versus the ability for the answer to be given. And Ms. Collins asked a question. Certainly, Mr. Kruger was starting to answer.
Mr.
And
Chair?
I think that it is only appropriate and in line with the traditions of this place to allow for answers to be given.
And Mr. Keurig to allow an answer to be given. What I'm saying is, I'm just making a comment that was a rhetorical question, but you know.
Point of order, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Ms. Collins. Nothing wrong with rhetorical questions.
It was not. It wasn't a rhetorical question. This was the question that we got most often from Canadians who wrote in wanting answers from oil and gas CEOs. This was their question.
Okay. Well. You go ahead. I'm going to start the clock now. You go ahead, Mr. Kruger, and the floor is yours
and
to answer
Chair,
the question.
Mr. Chair, I believe that Mr. Kruger answered the question, then he wanted to change the topic to something else. And so if he's not wanting to answer that question in particular, I have more questions.
Okay, we didn't give him a chance to answer the question. So, Mr. Kruger, do you want to answer that question?
Actually get on the topic of the study.
I don't, quite frankly, I don't know what the criteria is for how do I sleep at night.
Yeah.
But what I do know is the tens of thousands of employees and contractors that work for us work hard each and every day to provide safe, secure, reliable energy for Canada. So other than my sleeping patterns, I don't have any other reply to that one.
Thank you. You know, we had climate-impacted Canadians come to Ottawa today and share their stories. They told us about having their homes burnt to the ground. They told us about having floods completely ruin decades of memories. They told us about their community that will soon be swept away. Farmers who have told us about the impact of the smoke on their workers, of the impacts of the climate crisis on our food systems. It is wild to me that when we are facing a climate emergency, we have the people around this virtual table raking in billions of dollars and then coming to the government and asking for more handouts. You know, why is it that you expect everyday Canadians, taxpayers, to fund the And I understand that my Conservative colleagues want to protect oil and gas CEOs, that they feel like they need to defend them at every corner. But
Excuse me, colleagues, I'm going to stop the clock. Ms. Collins has the floor, and you know everyone has their time, and it's their time, and so I just would ask members to maybe just let the witness and the questioner speak unimpeded. Ms. Collins, go ahead.
I'm curious how it is you feel comfortable coming to the federal government, asking them for more handouts when you are raking in record profits and can pay to clean up your own pollution.
Who's that to?
Mr.
Are you
Kruger.
directing that?
Yes.
Oh, I'm apparently pretty popular today. Well, if you look back, let me start on the record profits for a minute. Two of my colleagues said this, and I'll be quick so I can perhaps get my answers in. We are a global capital-intensive industry that goes with cyclic prices on a commodity. So in the last 4 years, yes, we've had a record profit year, and yes, we've had a record loss year. On average, over the last 4 years, we've made over the last 4 years, we've made $17 billion. Big numbers, big industry. In those same 4 years, we've paid $17 billion in taxes and royalties. And each and every year, we've paid an additional $8 billion in salaries, wages, and benefits to Canadians who also pay taxes. So yes, we're a big business and the numbers are big, but it goes up and down. And to characterize us as record profits, 1 year, yes. But then also remember the year that was a record loss. That's the last 4 years in the roller coaster of global oil and gas.
And I guess my question is, when you make record profits, when there are headlines that say the oil and gas sector has made more money than it's ever made before, how are Canadians supposed to trust that you will invest that in decarbonization instead of putting it into the pockets of your shareholders and in bonuses to yourselves? Because that's what we've seen. And you have been, part of the oil and gas industry for decades and part of companies who have misled Canadians for years and years. Your companies knew that there was a climate crisis. They knew that climate change was real and yet funded misinformation to try and convince Canadians that the climate crisis was not as serious as it is. Now,
on doit s'arrêter là parce que
Your time is up. We have to finish there because the first round of questions